What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Glory Boys podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Austin.
I'm Darren.
I'm Trev.
And I'm Ray.
And this podcast was designed to help creatives build wealth. And today we have an exciting episode for you guys. We sit down with Shawn and Luke from Edison Creative, an amazing video and animation production studio here in Omaha. So much value. I got so many things out of this conversation, and we cannot wait to share it with you.
We hope this episode is super inspiring to you. I know it was for me. These guys are incredible. We've looked up to them for years. And so if you're listening to this podcast right now, you don't know who Edison Creative is, you definitely want to listen to this podcast. You're going to be inspired to either start your business, continue to grow, continue to learn things, go outside of the comfort zone of your natural, normal business and do things that are new. You're going to feel stretched and strengthened. And I just truly believe that this episode is going to inspire you.
Yeah, if you want to follow us on social, you can find us on Instagram at the Glory Boys Pod. You can find us on TikTok at the Glory Boys Podcast. And this episode drops on YouTube and all your favorite podcast streaming platforms.
And if you want to see all the behind the scenes, all the music videos, all the other kind of videos that we do, just go follow us on our main account at Glory Visuals on YouTube and on Instagram. And you can see all the day-to-day shenanigans that we do every single day and how we like to have fun here.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. Without further ado, let's get into this episode.
Today on the show, we have special guests Luke Bolin and Shawn Gourley here from Edison Creative.
Yeah.
Luke is the owner of Edison. Shawn sits as their creative director. Thank you guys for being here. We're pumped to have you in studio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so let's just start off like we do with most of our guests. Just give us a background of who you guys are, how your journey started in kind of video production and animation, and then how did that lead to starting Edison?
So Edison Creative started in 2005 in my basement house in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And Shawn was living with me at the time, who ended up marrying his sister, so we're actually brother-in-laws.
Family.
But before that, Shawn and I actually did all sorts of work for our church, graphic design, video production, all sorts of stuff. And so we've been working together since like he was 16, I think I was 19 or 29 on that. Yeah,
I'm 40 and we'll be 41 this year.
Yes.
Wow.
That is a long time.
Do you guys ever fight?
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's with all, relationships, like you either have like a servicey level thing where you have those like nitty gritty, like we have two different personalities. We have like two ways of approaching stuff. And so like a lot of like, yes, it'd be amazing if those two things completely lined up every time.
Yeah.
But, they don't. I mean, I've known Luke longer than I know my wife, and
Right.
it's just like, and for any sort of healthy relationship, you have to be a little bit, honest. And sometimes, those suck. Like those moments, like definitely suck, and especially when your team grows and you're having those. But like, I think we've definitely gotten into a better place of trying to, when these conflicts arise, just, all right, let's talk about this real quick. Let's get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And let's
Conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like over the years we've had lots of those, and in the earlier years it was like, are we doing the right thing? Should we still be working together? This is horrible. But it wouldn't get to that point. Like it would be working fine for like months or sometimes even years, and then it would just kind of like compound and just and boil up over the surface, and I'd just be like so pissed off at each other. But like we've kind of learned how to deal with that now. Like it's just we have a kind of like this unspoken rapport between the two of us. Yeah, okay, we just need to go to the conference room and bash this out. Like, yeah, okay, what's going on? What did I say? What happened here? And I think like that really has helped.
Yeah,
our working relationship, and honestly, we've become closer just as friends too. I think through that. But yeah, in terms of like personalities, Shawn's right on that. Like our personalities are very different, and I think it's like it's almost like a work marriage in a sense, because it's like you have to realize how the other person works and how they respond to things. They're not going to respond to things the same way you do.
Right.
I'm notorious for like underestimating time on a shoot. right? And it drives Shawn crazy. And he's like, I'll be like, you can knock that out in like 30, 45 minutes. And Shawn's like, it's going to take us 3 hours at least. And so it's like, you know, it's figuring out, you know, when to give and take on that stuff.
Yeah.
And understanding like, hey, you know, there are things that the other person's stronger at.
Yeah.
And I think like figuring out what their strengths are is a huge part of that. And it's like any relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like, and Luke is, he's really good at like cultivating relationships with clients. And like, I mean, he always jokes that he's like Michael Scott. He just wants everybody to like him. And so like, I mean, but it's kept us alive. Yeah. Like in terms of like business for all, because I'm just like, I don't really care what people think about me. Like I like probably to a major fault.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just kind of be like, I don't lose sleep at night if I feel like somebody doesn't like me. Like,
Sure.
I guess I'm just not their bread and butter.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's kind of, and it's probably like, you know, I have to get deeper or anything like that. So it's probably like over the years of like walls that I built or something like that. But I just got to a place where like, it's like, it doesn't really bother me when somebody doesn't like me.
Yeah.
But I mean, Luke has, he has, through everything I think that we've always done, he's always maintained pretty good relationship, unless there's just a client that is just still worse. So that never happens. He's you know, he's the type of person that's like, if he feels like a client is like, doesn't like it or something like that, he really goes after it and tries to make amends, and like, he tries to really understand like what is going on. Why are we rubbing you the wrong way? Like, why aren't you like accepting, like you actually came to us or your boss? Like we just, you know, we've had clients before where it's like, you know, we're kind of like within a marketing team, like had been working for them for so long, we're kind of maybe pushed into like onto somebody, and we kind of felt that rub. But you know, it is really strange, because it's like you think that like the more time you spend with someone, the more you like are like each other, but it's like it's the opposite. Yeah. Your own individuals.
Yeah, I love that relationship. I think that's something that we share with you guys as like two, you know, headed company per se. And just, I feel like 5 years in, we're just kind of starting to learn our differences and strengths and how to embrace those rather than both try to be good at everything.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, is part of why we've been so drawn to you guys. And I'm, as you were talking, I was kind of cracking up, because I feel like Luke and I share some similarities. You guys share some similarities, almost as like the opposites kind of attracting and making it work. And it's just funny how like you guys both have red beards, and this is kind of hilarious right now, but
predestined.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we could probably spend this whole time talking about just that dynamic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Two leaders. I think it's something that we recommend to people all the time, because I think a lot of people have this notion that to be a good content creator, a good filmmaker, everyone's making it about themselves with their YouTube and whatnot. And I think there's a lot of lone wolves out there that are going to get burnt out. And I think it takes a good co-part to really make something lasting and sustainable. And it is a marriage. We joke all the time that we're each other's work husbands.
Sure.
You know, the reality is we spend more time with each other and we do with our wives.
And my wife is way hotter.
And same with mine. So, I guess, was there like a turning point for you guys, or was there a realization in your relationship where that started to kind of unlock that, or was it really just learning to communicate and to not bottle that up?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, for a long time it was just Shawn and I, and then we hired Skylar as our third employee, and you know, the more people that we added to the team, the more Shawn and I had to basically become closer, because like we need each other to help run this shop. Yeah, I mean, and so like we need to be on the same page with stuff, and we need to like realize that there were strengths and weaknesses between the two of us, and where I might be lacking in supporting the team, Shawn could come in and really support that, and vice versa. And so I think like that has been an interesting dynamic over the years, just as we've grown. I think that there's been a big growth between the two of us too, and on our relationship, and just kind of realizing what our strengths and weaknesses are. But yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like a specific, you know, turning point, I I can't really pinpoint one time because I know that's like a lot of like, you know, that's where we disagreed on stuff. But I probably, you know, I would say 8 years ago, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. I know we had one really big blow up, and it was a pretty much a crossroads of like, are we going to continue doing this together? Are we? And I remember that being, you know, like, I don't really want to do video production without Shawn.
Sure.
Like, personally, I would just rather like go find something else to do.
Yeah.
And work at Home Depot or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just, like, for me, we have such a good like rapport with how we work and how we approach stuff. Like, I can't really imagine doing a project without Shawn that wasn't like, that didn't add value. You know what I mean? Because like what he brings to the table creatively is just like what I can't do. I can't do it. You know, like I can come up with like this idea, but then the special sauce that Shawn sprinkles on it is like so much better. And then like there's times when I'll come up with an idea and Shawn's like, that's great, but what if we totally didn't do that and we did this instead? And it's a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of humility in that working relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure at some point there was probably pride on both of your sides, and you had to decide at one point.
100%.
For sure. Because I know I have to doubt it myself. Yeah, with this company, even with just having multiple employees, I care about people's opinions and thoughts and ideas, and I want to bring them to the table. But for me, I am a big idea guy, and I do think like 1,000 years out, and I'm like, oh, we should shoot a movie. But like, what's reality? What do we really do today? And so, I have to swallow my pride in those moments where I have these cool big ideas, and then Austin's like, yeah, actually that's cool, but like, we'll type this little note and we'll put it in this little safe place, and we'll visit it in 5 years when it makes sense.
Yeah, I think the pride thing is it's hard because it's like I find myself prefacing what I say a lot just because I'm trying, because I know like I process things differently than other people process things, and it's like I want someone to know that, you know, yes, that is a good idea, but here's my idea, and I'm like, please hear me. I am not telling you that my idea is better, but like when we're talking about this thing, when we're talking about this client project, when we're talking about this passion project, when we're talking about this, I'm just coming at it from a completely different perspective, and I'm not trying to tell you my idea is like way better, but like, it's just, you know, I think everybody thinks differently, and so like there are times where like somebody, I think that's the thing with creative directors, whatever, you can get a script that you didn't write, and you start reading it and making notes and stuff like that, and you give it to two completely separate people, this can be two completely separate videos.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's, you know, even if you have like notations like, oh, like, you know, camera tracks in or like starts on here, like totally different. You have a completely different video, like the vibe, whether the dialogue is like
color, music,
exactly. And so it's like, it's really, and I mean, and sometimes it does come down to maybe which idea is better, but I don't know. I think there almost is a time where it's what idea kind of hits your gut a little bit more. Yeah. And then when you say it out loud and everybody I think there is definitely a dying of self, because like, you know, everybody, especially working with a big team, everybody has their ideas. And it's like, and I think it is your job as like owner and creative director to take those ideas in, kind of process them, and kind of figure out which one is going to be the most clear, you know, what's going to be the most concise. If we have another mystery, you know, that was great, taking the elements and stuff like that. And, but not trying to be like a creative dictator. Yeah. You know, and I think that sometimes with stronger personalities, you can come across as a creative dictator.
Do you approach that differently working with clients than you do working with your own team, and like that back and forth of the vision of the project?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think sometimes with clients, like, it's hard because as you know, they come to you as like an expert in some whatever shape, way, form. Like, you know, like they like, oh, saw this video, we were like, you know, or we heard of you through these guys, and they really like working with you. And they kind of, you know, delve out like what they want to do and like what that video is, and like we take it and we kind of process it and either come up with a concept or like a rough script or something like that, and like 95% of the time like it kind of just gets like torn apart. And like and we try to push it as much as we can to be like like take our advice, like this is how you should go with it. You guys are like like you're the vision for what was originally supposed to be this thing is like anyways long kind of long-winded say is like it is a little bit easier, I think, like sometimes with our own stuff, because like we don't have to answer to a client, right? Like we just have to be like in our heads, it's like, well, the meetings are a little bit more fun, so it's like it all just becomes like a lot. Like what's the coolest idea? Like what is the thing that we're gonna be like happy at the end of the day? And no one's like no one's going to, we don't have to give this to somebody and then be like, no, you can't, like that's not what we want to do. Like that's just, so I guess there is a little bit of a different process, but I think it's
too like you have to like think about demographics and what's your messaging, and there's so many angles that you're going at. So I think that that's something that we've learned as well over the years, is like when we do approach a project, we are first thinking about who is their audience, you know what I mean, and kind of backing up from there. But and I don't want to side rail
that's great. I have a follow-up question on that, but before I ask that, I think it's important to give context. Can you guys just run us through, like, currently, what is kind of the structure of your guys' team? Obviously, you offer much more than just live action film and video. So maybe just quickly give us a brief of your service as a company, and then kind of your team breakdown.
Yeah, so there are 8 of us right now on staff, and most of us are animators or illustrators, because we do a lot of animation and motion graphics and stuff like that. And then basically Shawn and I are the live action team. Coben is also a writer, and so he kind of he's a switch hitter. Like he'll do like 3D animation and modeling and everything else, and then he'll also be doing writing as well. So sick. Yeah, so it helps to have another writer as well to kind of bounce ideas. Historically have done most of the writing, but having Coben come in and kind of help support that. He also has his own very unique way of writing stuff, and really fun and quirky sometimes. So so that's been a really good dynamic, I think, for us. We ebb and flow in terms of like whether we have more animation or live action. And that's honestly got us through some really tough times. Is we've had the fallback of doing animation, doing motion, and so we got to the point to where we became known as one of the studios in town to go to for that stuff. Yeah, just because we built up the team and the portfolio for that. We want to be doing a lot more live action as well. And we do get to do that. I think we do a lot of the mixed media too, where we're actually doing motional and live action. I feel like that's one of our big strengths is that. But I think Shawn and I, again, like we've kind of realized where we can support each other with that stuff, and we bring in contractors from time to time to do larger shoots and to help us, for either grip or as another camera op or something like that. But that's essentially our team, and that's kind of been our workflow. But we're definitely heavier on the animation illustration side. It's in terms of live action, primarily the team is Shawn and I, and with the exception of Coben helping with writing and stuff. So
got it. And how many years? So you've been in business. So it was just you two. Then you hired Skylar, kind of part time to full time, and then you moved up to Omaha, but just kind of some of that.
Yeah, so we moved back to Omaha in 2009, I think.
Yeah, I was like,
you're 2009. Yeah, so it was we're only in Colorado up there for like 3 or 4 years working. And then here in Omaha, we kind of just started trying to build up the local clientele. Because most of our stuff was still in Colorado and I think in Memphis. And, over the years, we have been able to do that, been able to try to do a lot of, networking with agencies and local businesses and stuff like that. So we've gotten to the point where I feel we have a pretty good reputation now in terms of, what our services offer. But I've been building a team up over the years, and, now we're exclusively, we were doing kind of a little bit like the full service agency thing. We're doing websites, we're doing design, and doing all that stuff. My background is in graphic design and which is fine, and I still do it from time to time, but primarily like video and storytelling is our sweet spot now. So that's kind of what we've been doing for the past 13 years is exclusively that.
Love that. Thanks for the breakdown. And what I love about your guys' team is that everybody that I've met, at least on your guys' team, is like so talented and so creative. It's stupid. Like, we shot Dylan's wedding a few years ago, and obviously have stayed up to date with his stuff. I met Skylar at Hardy, way back. But that was actually the first time I'd heard of you guys, was meeting Skylar. And just like everybody that I've met is just insanely talented, insanely creative. And so that leads me to my question. With a team of such talented, creative people, how do you guys empower them to be able to run in their strengths, but also kind of, how do you balance between giving your creative vision and being that creative dictator with the team? How do you properly empower them? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Well, I think it does go to like strengths and weaknesses. Honestly, like realizing what, and just having honest conversations with them. Like, what do you want to, maybe not what is your weakness, how do you suck? But it's like, what do you want to learn more about? What do you want to, how do you want to, what skills do you want to improve on? And that'll kind of give you a clear understanding of like where they feel they're lacking. Because like, me going up to Dylan or Haley and be like, okay, so illustration wise, you need to work on this. That would just not kind of but saying like, hey, is there anything that you guys want to try to experiment with, or what kind of new skills do you want to learn? And then that kind of fills in the gap of like, okay, well, like for Haley, she went to learn more, Disney-esque cell animation, traditional style animation stuff. And so, I enrolled her in a course to do that. And so like, that's kind of been the way of empowering.
Okay. So kind of continuing education.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then like with Dylan, and like, that's hard to empower that guy with art, but he wants to learn animation as well. So it's like, okay, well, we've got him a 2D animation program that is specific for like more cell generated, animation. And so he's been kind of experimenting with that. But I think it's all about like finding where those gaps are and where they want to exceed and want to excel at, and finding solutions for them, or helping them find solutions in that. And a lot of times they come to us and they're like, well, I found this course, it'd be awesome if I could do this, or I found this, it'd be awesome if I get these set of brushes. That's still an actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so we'll spend extra, cash to go get him a new set of brushes for his, for Procreate or something. And that's like, he's thrilled, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'll just go nuts and try to, explore all different kinds of ways to do that. It's so cool.
So how long does an animation like project come into play, and how long does it take to get that through the door?
No, that's a good question. And that, I tell the answer I'm going to give you is the answer I give all my clients. Just like it varies.
Just like with video.
Just like with video.
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely depends on like what it is. I mean, we try to like give about, if you're talking about like a 30 to 45 second, like, vector After Effects, jam, like, and sort of thing, explainer. Yeah. We try to at least give ourselves about 2 months to, which is usually not the case.
Yeah, see, this is the typical example. I was like 4 to 6 weeks. He's like 2 months.
I like to like
Progress.
Yes, and then deliver before that.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, thanks," and you're like, "You're welcome."
I'm Luke in this.
Yeah.
You're bitter.
Not better. Yeah, 14 days.
Like, I think we can squeeze this into 2 hours.
Yeah.
This work.
It's like, bro, this literally will take me 2 full days.
Yeah.
And then it does.
So what does that process look like when you get it though? Do you guys oversee it at the end of it, or did the whole team look at it? Like, how do you break it down?
I think we all wear multiple hats.
Yep.
Because a lot of times people can have a good idea. I mean, yes, 2 months, but then we had, and Luke talking about like learning stuff. We also like for Smart Chicken, last year, we had like this project for them that was completely 3D animated, like which we had done one other project years ago. Like, and when I say we, I mean Skyler did it. Like it was like super like low poly count and stuff like that. It was kind of this like tour through Omaha for the Omaha Chamber. But so this was going to be like 2 30-second fully 3D animated like spots
for Smart Chicken.
For Smart Chicken, and that took us in terms of like, I think me and Luke did like one little scene because I had like a PNG render because I don't know how to 3D animate, and neither does Luke.
Right.
And Luke did, you know, a color pass and like the music and stuff like that. It took the team probably about a year to do 2 spots. Well, like they worked on it for the better part of like 8 months.
And again, that's like still sprinkled in with other work, but some of them, like Cohen, we're working around pretty much exclusively for at least 6 months.
And it's and in those moments, sometimes it sucks because, like, you know, Coben, I sit here, Coben's right across from me here, and there'll just be times where, like, you know, Cinema 4D will shut down, or like, and you know, Coben is, I love that guy, and but like you could tell when he's like, he's just had it up to here, and you're just like, and like you feel so bad for him because I'm like, hey man, what's wrong? And he's like, it's Crash, I don't know how to do this, and I got this you know, this rap for this character isn't working, and I'm like, oh man, like, I was like, you should Google it. I was like, that's like, because I don't know anything about it, but
Oh man.
luckily we have also some extended Edison family, like Kristen Zara and some people that, you know, are really good friends of ours that do this kind of stuff, and lean from like Jim Wagner and stuff, that are really great people to pick up a phone call, or, you know, if like, hey, I'm really busy right now, but like call me in like a couple hours, and then we can talk through it and stuff like that. So it's really great to be able to have, you know, outside sort of like friends and mentors that we can also kind of, but putting the education thing, like we're circling back around to that question, that long, you know, how long does it take? That was a little bit of like an education within a job.
Yeah.
It's nice to kind of find those, but like I feel like with those, you've gotta pat that. You know, it's not a Austin and Luke, we can do that in a couple hours. It's like we've gotta pad this bad boy, because there are parts of it, yes, we can theoretically we can do this, but there are going to be some things that we're going to come up against that we have no idea what to do. It's not to the client that, but we have
So that was going to be my next question: is how do you sell a client, or do you not, on the fact that this is going to be a massive learning undertaking for your company? Because I love that, just even knowing that you guys do that, like unlock something in me that I think I've been trying to manage, is like, how do we balance putting extra time into projects to learn new things, to get better and learn new skills and take our work to the next level, but also manage the risk of the time, you know, that, you know, I'm not going to go to a client and say, hey, I'm going to bill you for 40 hours, but 30 of you, I'm going to be actually learning tutorials. Right. So how do you manage?
That's a great question. It's a really good question. I mean, it's a balancing act, because you kind of need to know the skill of, I mean, if it's going to be you learning it, you need to kind of know your own, you know, skill on how you excel in learning, and how you can, even what kind of self-learner are you? And if it's to your team members, you kind of need to gauge on past experiences, like how have they been able to do this and adapt. I mean, there's times where like I'll go up to Coben or Haley and be like, hey, I have this idea for this thing. Do you think this is doable? And then we'll have a really like honest conversation about that. It's like, well, I don't know how to do that right now. Okay, then do you think you could learn? And if you did learn, how long would it take you to do this? And so I kind of gauge budget on that. A lot of times I'll kind of cut that budget in half in terms of learning curve. On our side, the client won't actually see that reflected in the bill. But for me, I'm like, okay, say it's going to take 40 hours to learn this program. I'm going to build them for like 10 or 15 at shirt, right? But because the reality is work's still getting done on this project. Characters are still getting created. The stuff is still getting done. But it's also taking an exponentially longer time than if they were proficient in it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of like finessing and finding that sweet balance of like, okay, I think based on my knowledge, you know, I don't know how to make this 3D object, or where I don't know how to make this thing animate, but I know I could figure this out with the right tutorials and the right things. And
when did it switch from, I think you always get faced with those jobs that come in and you're like we could probably do it, but I don't know if we should.
Yeah.
When did that threshold, like, all right, guys, we're going to accept it and take on the project to challenge the team? Like, we can deliver, we will be able to make this happen. Because for us, I feel like we get approached by people and like, hey, we pitched this to like 6 other people in town and they all turned it down because it's too big for them. And we're like, we'll take it.
yeah, sure.
But I think there you get to a place where you just kind of like, I don't know, you just say, all right, like let's go. We'll figure it out.
I mean, that's kind of how we run the business. So.
Yeah.
Day one.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, with the animation stuff, like, I mean, it's not like Coben or Skylar or Alyssa or Haley had never opened up.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it's fine. We'll do that. I mean, they were like, they had done. I mean, and we obviously like went to them like because Smart Chicken had come to us and be like, listen, we really like those Kroger ads. Like those are really great. Can you guys do something like that for us? And so like it was like hold on, and then having like, hey, can we do this?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But I mean, like what do you mean in terms of like what's like is it a big project that like people can't take because?
So basically, I mean, are you cool with, I'm not gonna.
No names or.
Yeah. But, okay, so we're recently approached by a client who has been doing all of their brand launch video campaigns through a national agency, spending $100,000 per brand.
Yeah.
To do basically a 4.5 minute, series of ad breakout, but in one cohesive story. Sure. 4.5 minutes, so you can just cut out 20-30 second chunks.
It's like 4 to 5 30-second.
Yeah. And they approached us and said, hey, we're looking to partner with somebody local. We worked with them in the past, and essentially they're looking for us to provide that level of production, which, looking at their video, like, they do a great job. Obviously they're a massive company, but I don't feel like it's a stretch, is basically what it feels like. Is like, okay, yes, we're confident we can turn out a product. Right. It's going to be excellent. Is this a definite step up for us in terms of production level? Absolutely. We're going to start, we're going to have to rent some gear. We're going to have to, maybe pull in some other people outside of just our core team. Like, and so that's kind of what the tension is of like, our gut instinct is, yes, absolutely. We'll figure this out for you. But I think we also want to maintain a reputation, and for sure we don't want to sell ourselves too high. I think my natural bent is to undersell ourselves and our abilities, because I'm just naturally a critical person. I'm the cynic, and so I'm self-critical, and so I'm usually the one that will sell us short because I'm so terrified of selling ourselves too high. Sure. And then coming up short. I can't do that. And so I think that's where the tension comes in of like, at what level is it like, okay, this actually probably is not a good idea for us to take on? And maybe that's...
Yeah, so to me, the answer to that is, do you know people in the industry that you can call on to help you with this? Like, whether it's mentors or whether it's like contractors that can actually, that have a portfolio, have experience doing that stuff, that you could pull in to help with that. Because that's, I mean, a lot of times, like, we accepted this big 3D project that Coben was like, no, I don't know if I could do this right now. And so I do have a buddy, though, that Jim Wagner could do it. It was that Massport project with like this photorealistic, like 3D pumps, right? They're like septic pumps. It's whatever. But we had to make...
Is it the cool on our website with like the lighting and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, because those are sick.
No, thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, that was all 3D, right?
Okay, sick.
And so like...
We literally thought it was video, so... We were watching it.
There's one that is video, but it's the most important are 3D. And even that one has some 3D elements. And I got it. We threw a few shots in there.
Yeah.
But, Jim coming in and building that and then walking gear. But even that, like, that was a good, kind of backing up to the previous conversation, that was a good learning experience for Coben, because he then saw, I could do this. Since then, he's actually built out some of these other models.
Because they're like, they're using them on there's like multiple purpose, like they're using them on their website. You can like go in and like click on them and like rotate them back to you. I mean, but Coben kind of like picked that project up. And so like, I think it is, there's times where like our project seems scary, but then like when you start thinking about like, well, like maybe we could farm this part of it out, you know? So yeah, they sure, like, I mean, I feel like we've had multiple projects where we're like, I mean,
We brought Kristen in on
Yeah.
our own project.
I mean, when it was just, when we were still back to Mastercraft, like we had a project.
Mastercraft.
Yeah, through a buddy, Caleb Kovic, and like we were doing this Nike project for Black History Month. It was all animation. It was all like motion graphics and stuff like that. And it was like, you know, it's exciting. You're like, oh my God, we're doing things for Nike.
Yeah, sweet. That's amazing.
And but then the work actually started, and like I had like imposter syndrome, like a mofo. Like I remember just like there was a time where we had gotten all the artwork and we were all kind of taking scenes, taking little like chunks of animation, and they wanted like test animations, like, hey, like, can you kind of like give us to what you're doing? I spent a week on 4 seconds of animation, like, and was like would just like do something, start over, do something, start over, and like just like sweating bullets.
Yeah.
And like, so we sent it to him, and like I remember I was driving home, and like Luke called and was like, dude, like we just heard back from Nike, they love what you and Skylar did, and actually like didn't really like what Caleb did. And so it was like, it was kind of a confidence boost. Like we were like, oh man, like that's great. Like, and so it kind of took that into the rest of the I mean, there were still definitely moments of like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, what am I, like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's like, it's something that we still show.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, and that was like one of the very first big national spots that we'd ever done, and like there was a lot of pressure on all of us. I mean, it was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like, this is a great opportunity. And
yeah. Well, there's even stuff in there that was like, hey, can you do this? And you're like, oh, totally sure. Like, it's, you know, it was this illustrated art that was like, they wanted to like,
that was the follow-up one.
yeah, it was like wanted. Well, no. I was thinking you were talking like the people in that. It was like we're doing like puppet pin stuff to make. I mean, just like illustrate where it was like they wanted them to look like they were yelling, and like yeah.
there were illustrations that we had to like animate those illustrations.
Okay.
And it was before we had really I mean, this wasn't before we knew a lot of this
Right.
stuff too.
So it was, and that was, I mean, to me, like, even that was something that I learned a ton in, because like, you know, in After Effects, there's this amazing thing, like a speed graph, and like Caleb was really, really good at that. Like it just adds a little bit more, like you animate a circle from left to right and just it going like at a constant rate is okay. But the speed graph, it kind of gives it that emotion and that like that feeling. So it was like he was really good at using that and knowing when to, you know, start something slow and speed it up, or start something fast and slow it down. Like, and so I gleaned a lot. Like I mean, there's nothing that in After Effects that I don't use speed graph now. And so that, I mean, for me was like a big learning thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think well, a big thing for us, because like it's daunting to just think about like a project that comes in that seems like way too aggressive for us to just handle. I think once you start kind of like opening your horizons and realizing like, okay, maybe we don't have to do all of this, but we can be the ones to like give the creative vision.
Yeah.
And like, this is what we're looking for. Like, I think working with other people, you have to be clear on your creative vision, because if you're not, you're going to get some work, and it happens to us all the time. Where it's like you're not entirely clear, and then somebody goes and does something, and then like, you know, they put up the week's worth of time in, and you're like, it's not really this thing. And like, so yeah, I feel like you've got to be really clear on what you're asking people, for sure, you know, because I mean, and that's where like things that like those tensions start building up, because you're just like, you know, they've interpreted what they thought, you know, and did something that they spent, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a week or even a couple hours. Yeah, it's like a couple hours is in our industry, that's like that was money. Yeah, and so it's like, I think you just really have to be clear on what that vision.
One thing that I love that I just hear like woven through like your company is that not one of you kind of carries the weight of the lid of creative ability. It's like you were sitting down and doing some animation, but also with Skylar, but also Coben. Yeah. So Coben, and like it sounds like, yeah, and you obviously are going to sit down and start animating. Like you just know that that's not your strength, and so it's really cool that everyone kind of brings a different level of value, and together it creates this monster of Edison that's just the pristine place to go over for an home. So I mean,
there are times where it's like, you know, I feel like we're functioning well and we know what we're doing, but then there's other times where I'm like, now why I don't have this figured out, like after this long, like what's going on, like I think that there are definitely times where, especially when you factor in like passion projects and stuff like that, like it's me and Luke have a tendency to revert back to like, oh, it's just me and Luke, and like because these people are like, we want this passion thing to happen so bad that we want them to be working on that while we're taking the brunt of like employee stuff. And so like that I think we definitely have to like snap each other back into reality sometimes and be like, bro, we've got 6 employees, and some of them could be doing some of this stuff, but there is we want that sort of so bad. We want that to be sort of out of the clutches, that's a really dramatic word, of like, client work. And it's like, not that we're not grateful for it, but I think, because we've been doing this for so long, there's a point where you do want to, make something of your own, but also have that thing be the thing that is paying the bills, for sure, sort of thing. So that's where it's like, finding that balance. We do, like, I think you always just kind of have to, it is nice when things feel balanced, but those scales can easily just dip and stuff like that, and you just, you kind of have to like snap yourself back into reality and, find that balance again. It's a constant snapping back into reality, I feel like.
Snap back to reality.
Oh, there goes God, baby.
I love that. Speaking of passion projects that pay the bills, the Axiom Chronicles, did that start as a passion project?
What's that, Austin?
I don't know.
Chronicles.
I could try to tell you, but these guys will probably do a lot better job at it.
Yeah, it totally started as a passion project. So Dylan Wheelock, our lead illustrator, had a stack of journals when I met him to interview him. And it was over at Hardy Coffee, right over there in Medicine. And I was looking through his journals, and I caught some of this artwork specifically of these characters, and I was like, this is amazing. I remember getting out of that interview and calling Shawn right away and being like, this kid draws like Genndy Tartakovsky, which is like, childhood hero. Shawn's man of childhood, but like high school hero.
I mean, I wanted to like when I was in high school, like drew all the time. I wanted to draw comic books, and then like, you had discouraging teachers that were like very much like, you're not going to make a living drawing. I was in high school like years ago. Like I feel like now like that sort of thing is like encouraged, and everybody does like the arts and stuff like that. But like I remember taking like a video class my senior year, and like the librarian was teaching it. Librarians, but it was like I didn't care, and there was like 4 people in it. It wasn't that. And but yeah, like so, I love Genndy Tartakovsky was.
So he did like Samurai Jack and iconic, early Cartoon Network shows. Okay. And so I was really excited about this, and I said, we gotta hire this guy. I don't know if I'm gonna go broke, but I just need to figure out a way to get into the studio. And so Dylan joined the team, and we started talking about these characters that he had, and what does the world look like. And Coben was there at the time as well. I think he was kind of almost like interning kind of a contract at the time, and we were kind of all talking about this idea, and that just snowballed into the Axiom Chronicles. And so we started off was thinking, okay, let's create an action sequence with these characters in this world, and just to do as like a proof of concept, like this could be kind of cool. So we put together this 4-minute piece of animation, which took a long time. Yeah, it took like almost a year and a half to create this 4 minutes of animation.
And longer.
Kind of woven into so
years,
probably about a year and a half, 2 years. But it was woven within our real work, right?
Sure.
And so there was this conference out in California that we were like, okay, that'll be like our deadline to get.
But just to sprinkle it in, it was like we heard about this conference. Like Coben's brother is Paul Rudish, who is like was Kenny Tartakovsky's like right hand man. Like when people talk about like
No, we had no idea.
when we talk about like the look of Clone Wars and like Samurai Jack says that like Coben would be like, yeah, that's my brother. Like that's his drawing. Like so like he works at Disney now. Did those? Have you seen those Mickey cartoons before? Or like the
Wonderful
like,
World of Mickey Mouse.
they're kind of quirky and like
Almost, yeah, characters.
almost like Ren and Stimpy ish. Like it's almost to that point, but not quite. Those guys think enough.
Sure.
He did all those, and they had that run, and so like we again outside, we've had the wonderful opportunity to like be able to talk to this guy, and he's the one who told us about CTN and was like, you guys need to go to this thing. So we took
the Action Chronicles to CTN. It was just a fun trip. We all went to California together as a team and this booth.
we'd never done
What does that stand for again? Sorry, you might have already said it.
Creative, yeah, and we're in Creative, but
cartoon totally.
yeah, creative cartoon totally. I love that. I love that. But that just kind of like it spurred on this idea that like, hey, let's promote this thing as like as well as a real show. And
So we had a booth.
yeah, we had a booth.
The guys put together like with Dylan's artwork.
People were we got some good interest. We had good conversations.
Again, it was like imposter syndrome like set in because like we were standing around this booth with this thing that we created. A lot of these people that were at this thing are like art students looking for jobs. And so they would like come and like show you their portfolio, and we're like, that was great. And they're like, what is this show? Can I work on it? We're like, no, maybe. They're like, where does this show? And we're like, right here on the CPU. Like, that's where it is. Like, so it was, but we also like a lot of, it was very encouraging because those same kids would be like, I would watch this.
Yes.
I would watch this. Like, and then we had even people from studios come over and they would be like, can I work on this? And we're like, if we had money, right?
Theoretically,
Yeah. So we kind of garnered interest from that, and
Yeah, we actually was able to talk to a few people in the industries, like distributors, that were interested in the show.
Yeah.
And that like just boosted our confidence to be like, hey, actually, maybe this could actually be a thing.
yeah, right.
And so we got back to Omaha and started to think about the second half of this episode, and what that could look like. And so we did a Kickstarter, raised funds for that, completed the episode. It's more of a proof of concept. It's like 11 minutes long, and we shopped that around to HBO Max and Netflix and Disney and Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and everybody loved it. Nickelodeon gave us a couple rounds, in fact, and we kind of went back and forth on story and stuff like that, and we were really feeling positive. But then at the end, like, it didn't get picked up.
Yeah.
And the main reason nobody wants to, it's weird because like Hollywood feels like it goes in these spurts of like they want new fresh IP, and then they don't want to take it. Right now that's like,
and that, I mean, no, for sure,
any original IP.
And I think that we like, it took us a couple of years to get in the groove of pitching this thing after we had like, but it's got our foot in the door, but also like it was kind of right time, right place, because literally 2020 hit.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody, like Luke finagled his way using LinkedIn and the power that it is to like really talk to people. Like that's how we got all these contacts. Yeah. Like people were more apt to take these meetings. For sure. But at the end of it, you could just feel this like tightening and uncertainty of 2020.
Yeah.
And people being like, because like, I think everybody was afraid, not that like, oh, that's the only reason because Edison Chronicles is the best thing ever, but it was like, you could kind of tell like everybody they saw it and they liked it and they wanted something like that, but they were really focused on either reboots or something.
Sure. And I mean, the thing is, this stuff has got to go all the way through the ranks, right? Yeah. So it's got to get approved by all these different departments, and they know like, okay, it might get to this department, but it's definitely not going to get approved here because they're not going to take a risk. And so we learned, like Shawn said, we learned a ton that year, and the story got better. Like honestly, like we improved the story.
We had to whittle it down.
We rewrote this pitch Bible probably a dozen times. No joke. And we get to the end of it, and then I started to, I've been following my buddy Chris Wall, who's the showrunner for Wingfeather Chronicles, or Wingfeather Saga, sorry, Artist Chronicles. On the Angel Studios network. And he has had tremendous success over there. And I gave him a call one time. I was like, hey, do you think this show would actually play well on Angel? Do you think it's worth like submitting it to the portal or whatever? And he's like, yeah, absolutely, you should try it. So we did it. And after a couple of rounds there, we made it through their jury system, and which, come to find out, is a pretty stringent process. They had no idea like how selective they are. Which again just kind of made us feel really good about this thing, and that, hey, it probably does have legs in it, little. So now tomorrow, actually, they have this big event called Eliminate, and they're going to announce the show as part of their slate for this next year.
So sick.
Yes, go. And so I don't know when the page is going to go live yet on our site, but when it does, I'll let you guys know.
Please do. So you can take that budget from that one project. $100,000.
There you go. Throw it into the.
I mean, I think, it's a long journey, and you hear stories of like stuff sitting on like executive producers' desks for 10 years, and then they're like, hey, what's this thing?
Right.
And so, I mean, it's just been like, there have been times where we would just wanted to like shelf the thing, not look at it ever again. But like, I think, with me and Luke specifically, like we see the legs in it, a little bit, and have always, like, Luke especially has just been very tenacious in like trying to get this thing in front of people's eyes. The cool thing about, hopefully, we always, me and Luke were when we heard that it was Angel, we just even had a conversation. We're like, how do we tell the team? Because like we're jumping for joy, but like we also know that there's this caveat of like that still has to get funded. But like the cool thing is, through all this is like, through all these conversations with Nickelodeon and Netflix and stuff like that, like if Axiom Chronicles or some other of the ideas, because we ended up like being like, okay, well, we got these ideas here, so let's pitch. Like, we all have ideas, like, so we'll pitch other ideas to them. Like, because at the end of the day, they don't want the guys. In the meantime, while we're making Axiom Chronicles, they're spending their Tuesday nights, like Coben and Dylan and Lauren, who used to work with us, and Kristen. They spend their Tuesdays like writing and plotting out what they don't want. They want you to tell them what the show is about in like 2 sentences, and why they should care about your main character or characters. That's really, and then it becomes this dialogue.
That's universal too. That's not just animation. That's
that's just everything. So we were thinking like, hey, look, we have this prepackaged, like, here you go. Like, we've got it all plotted out. But, at the end of the day, whether they like it, they not like it, if somebody picked it up, we would maybe have a slight hand in it. Like, we got really close with another idea that Dylan had with Nickelodeon, and it was going to be like maybe Dylan and Luke on a phone call every like once a week, maybe, to talk about the show. Like, maybe like, here's a story idea. But it's like with Angel, we have like full control, freedom. Like, we like, big deal. Like Luke's been awesome. He's been looking into all these like animation studios outside of the US to kind of like handle the heavy lifting, but we would do all of like the writing, the directing, the storyboarding. And like, even we were like, we're pretty proficient in some animation. Like, we kind of had a discussion where it was like, if there was a scene that we were like, it'd be cool to just animate Rake, jumping from here to here. Rake is the main character. Then like, let's do it. And like, we're like, I don't know if you guys, parallaxing scenes, background scenes, making like a 2D thing, looking that like, you're like, you're giving it that depth of field. Like, I love doing that. I like, for some reason, it just makes me really happy inside. And I was like, if there was one scenic scene in like every couple of episodes that I could animate, I would be a happy camper. And so like, but we would have the ability to do that.
I mean, we're making the call. That's right. It's like, it's not, there's not some studio with all this red tape that we have to kind of go through to kind of get this stuff figured out. I mean, that's the dream. It is really a dream. And I mean, if this thing actually gets funded, like, it would be a total game changer.
Well, and you know, we've also had discussions like, what doesn't last for a season? But it's like, at least we have that season.
Yeah, for sure.
At least we have like,
Yeah, it's big.
and then we have like the eyes and the ears of this huge audience that like have watched it, and
Yeah.
So it's just been like I mean, we've been doing this for so long, we know that like we can't, you know, we've still got to do what we're doing with clients and stuff like that, and still like kind of grinding over there. But at the same time, it's a very exciting thing to kind of dream about and kind of be like, and I mean, we even had discussions about like, you know, if this interesting doesn't happen, like what do we do after that? You know, sort of thing, like what does it look like for the Edison Chronicles? Do we build up because we had kind of before.
That's when I go working out.
Yeah. Are you guys go for it? Are you guys taking Are you guys taking applications like for it? But yeah, I mean, we were kind of going down the road of building up like a YouTube page for Action Chronicles before the sort of like angel stuff started to kind of snowball into what happened, and kind of creating micro content and building up an audience in that way. Because I mean, and then we were talking about shaving down episodes to like 3 to 5 minutes and stuff like that. So something that we could handle in-house and building up like an audience. Because I mean, a lot of times it seems like there are those, you know, little, you know, possibilities that like you build up like an audience on YouTube, and they, you know, somebody snatches it. You know?
Right. Yeah. I feel like the overarching theme of everything I've heard you guys say is like, it's just audacity. And you're challenging me to be more audacious as we have this conversation, because I feel like, yeah, just everything that you guys said, it's just audacity. And I just want to quickly just take a moment. We'll put a link in the description of this episode. Please go check out the Axiom Chronicles. Look at the first episode. I assume will be up on the page somewhere.
It'll be
link to it.
They call it a torch on Eagle Network.
Okay, yep.
And it's basically your pitch video.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll have a link in the description. Please go check it out. Support financially if you are able to. Let's help make this thing a reality, because it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Heck yeah. And then the question would be just how long did it take to not hang this up? Obviously, you spent a lot of time investing in it, your team, employees, paying them to work on it. I mean, how many years, and then now finally you're getting the attention on this project?
Yeah, I mean, that question in of itself always makes me a little bit nauseous, because I think all the hours and time and effort and salaries that have been paid to make this thing a reality. And, you know, it's weird. I wish I had a good answer for that, other than just like, just the sheer passion to see this thing come to life. And, you know, I think this may sound cheesy, but like, I love doing this with this group of people. Like, I love to see this stuff happen. I love to see like the small little wins of like seeing a scene get done, and of us all sit around and crowd around a computer. It could be one shot, it could be one animation, one little action, but we watch that and it's like, this is real. We're real actually making this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it's just for a pitch, or it's just for, you know, our own little test animation, it feels so real. And I think like seeing those little incremental steps towards the reality is what keeps us going. And the little wins in between, like, we've had lots of failures with this. We've had lots of no's. We've had lots of like, it's cool, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's hard. It's hard to get that at, you know, time and time again. We've been doing this since 2015 with New Market working on this project.
A lot.
So it's 8 years. Yeah. And I feel like we're finally there. I think that's like kind of a lesson in anything like this. Like, if you really want something to happen, if you really want to try to see, I mean, it's always the stories, right? You got some of these rare occasions. There's this overnight success of somebody like producing something, and then like within 24 hours you blow up and you know, this huge sensation. Yeah. But those are few and far between. I mean, most of the people that are successful have worked on this thing for years. You know what I mean? They've really like, you know, honed in on their craft and excelled in their own personal growth to get to this place. And they've had a lot of failures. You know what I mean? How many entrepreneurs do you talk to over the years that have been like, I failed over and over and over and over and over again until I finally got it. I finally hit it. It's like, and the thing is, like, a lot of times these stories will come out. It's like, this overnight sensation, and they don't see all the work that was put into it beforehand. And so, like, for us, this may not even be it. Angel Studios might not be the thing for this show.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, really, like, I've kind of come to terms with that. Am I going to be sad and depressed for, like, at least a week? Yeah. Like, some maybe longer. But the thing is, like, there's also, there's no shortage of ideas. Like Shawn said, we have, like, 7 other pitch decks ready to go with other animated series. And we've built great relationships through this. We've made amazing connections. And that is a huge part of this, too. Like, part of those wins are not just like, yeses. It's not just like successes here and there. It might be a yes with, like, sure, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's a big win for me. Yeah. I've got, like, a studio exec that's willing to look at this thing. That's a massive win, right?
And also you guys need to know you're part of that, like, connection that we've made. Like, we throw your guys' name around a lot in the office. I mean, not just like, hey, we should use the studio space, which is, yeah, we do that too.
Which we're grateful that
But like, there's projects where we're like, hey, should we bring Glory guys in on that? Like, I mean, even with this passion thing that we're gonna meet about next Friday, like
Offline conversation.
Yeah, offline. But it's just like it's I think we've been doing this for so long, we just realized, like, we can't do this by ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are learning it at a way younger age than we did, which is a really good thing. By the time you're in our age, you'll probably have, like, a vast network of awesomeness and stuff like that. But it's like, just to let you guys know, I think, like, we look at your guys' word, we're like, these guys, they've got it, and if they can harness that and get those clients to really, like,
understand the value.
And
you guys are. I mean, that's the thing, is, like, you're not just in the process of it, you're actually doing it. You know what I mean? Like, having that caliber come to you guys. This is like encouragement time.
Yeah.
Let's go. Encouragement
time. I think that with this, like, you guys are there. You guys are, like, building up that client base. You guys know what you want too. And that's a big difference with a lot of other studios that are going out there. They're like, yeah, we want to, start doing just some cool stuff. You know what I mean? But, like, you guys have a plan. You guys have a vision.
You have goals.
Have goals. Just like, we didn't have any goals.
We're just like, we just want work. So
yeah, like we didn't have Nike. Yeah, like we didn't have Nike. They were like,
and most time it's like, with some of the stuff that we've done, it's like, you can't put that on your reel or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously,
yeah. Like, cool for sure. Like, all right, I guess we did that.
Yeah,
but
seriously, I think that you guys are, like Shawn said, like, you guys are making strides in the right direction, and you're making really, really smart choices right now that will, in turn, like, very quickly pay off. You know what I mean? And you're asking the right questions. Even having something like this, which, I know has been a passion of yours, like, it's awesome. It's like, it's giving you guys a niche and a place in this community, specifically, even locally, that, like, you guys are doing something different, and I think that's really, really commendable. So
thank you.
Encouragement.
Encouragement stuff. No, that means a lot. Yeah. Honestly, any encouragement coming from you guys. I knew about your company, I think, first of probably any other video companies in Omaha, and you've always been, like, the gold standard to us locally, and something to strive toward. And so we appreciate you guys just making us better. And
I just remember you guys were, like, some of the first people I ever met when I moved to Omaha. The only people I knew in Omaha were working at the Mastercraft. It's great. And so it was kind of crazy, like, because I remember, I think we talked about this recently or whatever, but I borrowed a camera from you guys. I didn't even know what C-Log was, and you guys had a camera in C-Log, and I filmed a wedding in C-Log and not C-Log. And that one. It's so messy. It's terrible. But I mean, it's just cool to see, like, how far we've all came. Literally, like, borrowing a DSLR and not knowing how to use it, because I was so used to just, like, my Osmo. Like, it's just crazy. It's cool to see, like, just the continued growth, and we're not in the Mastercraft anymore.
Right.
I'm thankful that I'm not there, because that was a whole different story. But just seeing the growth and the cool things that we're able to do, and now we're like able to link up and collaborate, and we don't want to do this alone. I think for a long time we were very protective over our brand and our stuff and who we let in and who we let influence, because we wanted to do our own thing. We're really trying to pave a new way. We don't want to go with the crowd. And so it's cool that we've gotten to this place now where, like, okay, we know who we are, our brand, our identity, everything that we believe in and want to do, have goals for whatever. But now we can start kind of collaborating and bringing people in. And it's been cool that you guys have kind of done that for us. And it's honestly a blessing that you guys even take the time to grab coffee with us and share, trade secrets and stuff like that. So
You know what I love most about you guys? You bet on people.
yeah,
Dude, that's so inspiring to me, because I feel like I don't do a very good job of that. But just hearing like the Axiom Chronicles, you saw Dylan's drawings and you believed in Dylan and you bet on Dylan and you bet on your team. And that is so uncommon. And so, I just wanted to say that because that's extremely inspiring to me.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to taking those risks and stuff, like that's what sets you apart. You know what I mean? It's those, and it doesn't have to be this crazy, like, super expensive risk. It might just be a lot of time, or like, and it might be an experiment up front to see, okay, how much time is this actually going to take? And you get into it, you're like, okay, this is a lot of time. I don't think it's worth it right now. Let's shelve this idea. Yeah. But if it's enough to where you can actually create something to get the word out or whatever it might be, it's probably worth doing. Because it's really going to build your portfolio of stuff that is not client work. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I do think that, like, one thing that's really, really important is developing that niche. It is developing, like, what is the thing that sets Glory Studios apart from everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, for Edison, we kind of have that at this point. It's what it's animation, and it's the storytelling through live action. And we do a lot of storytelling videos. Then that's, like, for us, and not necessarily talking head per se, but we try to do very story-driven narratives.
I mean, it's that we just, I think over the past couple months, we've had like literally a couple discussions because we've had clients come to us and they're like, oh, we want to do this like talking head piece. Can you send us stuff that you've done recently talking head? And like, we can't because first of all, and that's, so
we've probably done to
yeah, it's like, I was like to a point like where like it was mainly me being like stubborn, but like they were like literally like there was a time where Luke would be like, hey, we're expecting it's a talking head piece. I'd be like, nope, bro. Like, can we pitch them something else? And it was during that time where it's like we just need work to eat and stuff. But I was just done. Like I think it was one of those moments where I was just like that's all we were doing because you're at a point where clients were constantly coming to you and they're like, hey, we saw this talking head piece where the CEO is talking and like, that's what we want to do. You're like, no, that's a horrible idea. It's like, that's a really bad idea. So like we literally, and we have discussions like, sometimes that is like, it's okay to do it, talking that pin. Sometimes it is good to hear right from that person because they're the expert or whatever. But it's like, that used to be like when we were coming up in video production, I feel like that was like the only thing people wanted to do was talking head pieces. So like recently, like there was like a couple projects and they were like, can you send over some stuff? And we're just like, we're looking through old stuff and like something that we've done like maybe 5-6 years ago. And like, because we just don't have that. That's not really like what we, market ourselves as. Like we don't put that up on our website because it's like, and it's you can like whatever, like you almost feel like it's a little bit insulting when they're like, do you have examples of that? You're like, we're setting up a couple cameras and we're asking some questions. Like yes we can do that. Like it's not really that big of a, but not that like we're better than that, but it's like it's and not that like interview stuff has been done horribly and like people don't edit their cameras or something like that, but I feel like if you know how to frame a shot and all the other work that we've done, I feel like a good interview piece is pretty standard. Yeah, like that's kind of like what you grow up doing. Yeah, like in terms of like video productions, but usually what you start out doing.
Yeah, and I think that like again, it's all about niche. It's about like, what do you excel at? Like for us, we do excel at like the more story-driven narrative stuff. You know what I mean? Like we don't necessarily excel at as editing review pieces either. Like we do it, and we can do it pretty well. But like, you know, it's like anything that you do over and over again, you got routine and you can do it. You can do it very well.
Yeah.
So, like, anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think I have one question because it's 10, 15 months. But what's like, so you guys have been in this business for a while, like what's the dream?
I mean, these passion projects, you know, has been the dream for a long time, is to essentially have that bankroll the studio and have that be what supports us. We'd have the creative control, the creative freedom, and all that stuff. You know, all the things that you kind of want as a creator, right? And so I think that has kind of been the dream. There's some other things out there though that me personally, I have, you know, I think it's just about your personal growth too. Like, what do you want personally to excel at? And so there's been things for me that I've been exploring just, you know, outside of this, and like writing is one of them. I've been working on writing actually some supplementary books for Axiom, but that's something that's out of my, you know, typical track.
Sure.
I'm, you know, stuff like that. And I think the older I get, the more I'm like questioning like meaningful stuff too. And so we had decided this passion project called Neighbors, and it's still an amazing idea. And I would love to actually talk to you guys about that too.
Yeah.
But it's essentially a tool for refugees, and it's help empower them through giving them resources. And so, you know, that's something that it is always in the back of my mind, kind of there, burning a hole. And it's like, I really want to go back to that, because I don't know why, but for some reason that was always on my heart, and I always know, like, you know, it's heavy. I want to think about that on a regular basis. So.
Yeah. I think it's hard sometimes because, like, we live in such a society where, like, if you don't have things figured out by the time that you're, like, 25, then you're failed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be 41, but I read something a few years ago that was like, oh my gosh, Ang Lee didn't make his first movie till he was 42. Mm-hmm. Like, an Academy Award-winning filmmaker didn't make his first movie till he was 42. I think sometimes, like, we need those life circumstances, that we need to, like, learn a few lessons, and we want to be these, like, young darlings that, like, come up and, like, everybody's like, they just know everything. But I just don't think that, like, a lot of times, I think it takes a lot of life experience, and, you know, a lot of failing, you know, to really get to a point where, like, I feel like I'm just now coming into, like, myself and the niche that I want to do. Like, I mean, me and Luke talk about this all the time. Like, we've had imposter syndrome almost our entire careers. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with being like, I want to be a director. I don't want to shoot really anything. I don't like being on camera. Like, I'm okay. Like, I can finagle my way around, like, editing, but, like, it's not, like, something I would much rather just do, like, this one thing, and, like, be, like, really good at it, and have other people that are exciting about directing, exciting about producing. Like, I have a friend, her name's Katie Cologne, and, like, we met with her on a project because we literally we needed a bunch of actors, and, like, most of the time, because I'm friends with a lot of, like, community theater people, like, that falls on me, but, like, coordinating everybody's schedule and stuff like that is, like, it's exhausting. But we had this project going where, like, 2 projects for one company going on at the same time where we needed this campaign, and we needed, like, 7 actors, and they wanted at least, which is, I mean, it's not, like, horrible to say, but they wanted at least a couple of auditions for each part. So you're talking about at least 14 people to contact and have them do reads and send them off to, and, like, I just started getting, like, you know, an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, but there are people out there that, like, that they love that. Yeah. Like they love producing, and it's like, and so moving forward with projects that, like, you know, we want to do, whether it's the Axiom Chronicles or whether it's this thing that me and Luke have written and are trying to kind of like assemble a team of other creatives to kind of see like, hey, like what's everybody's interest and stuff like that. Like we just realized that we just want to do those like one or two things that we really like doing and like have everybody else shine in their areas. You know, that's for me is like what I want to do. Like I said, is the dream. I think, but along with like passion stuff, like, I mean, I don't think Edison proper would go away for a while. It's not like we were just like Edison Chronicles be like, and then we just kind of like we multiply it. And then, you know, like it wouldn't be that. You know, I think like we know enough people. I know you guys. We know Jacob Willis from Ren Media.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even Lauren Abel. Like we know all of these people that we can be like, hey, like here's some work. You know, like this is what we can pay you. This is what we kind of. So it's, I think until like, you know, something is booming, I think Edison proper will always be around in some capacity, you know, for a while until like, you know, we're ready to maybe,
and I think like
close that chapter, which I don't know what that looks like.
Sure. I think we'll continue to do both, you know,
Sure.
regardless. But like you asked about the dreams, like personally, those are my personal like things that are like itching in the back of my head. Like collectively, Shawn and I, you know, we have been writing this series, this like indie series that will be basically for YouTube. For web series, I guess, but they're like shorts. And, you know, he and I have always talked about making a feature. And I think like this is our first, not our first, we've done like several shorts at the time, but like this would be the first one we were heavily involved together in writing the content and producing it and seeing the whole thing come to, you know, fruition. I mean, with the shorts, like Shawn is kind of spearheading a lot of those, and you know, I'm kind of managing Edison work or whatever, and we're kind of going back and forth. But like with this one, I feel like this is one that we're both really, really excited about and doing it together, you know, which is cool. Like it's outside of Edison. It almost feels like, you know what I mean? So that is kind of a big goal of ours, is to kind of see these mini episodes kind of going to light.
Thank you guys so much for taking your time. I know.
Thank you guys.
Hopefully you guys got as much value out of this talk as I did, because I mean, I learned so much from you guys, and just continue to be inspired by everything that you guys are doing. Before we go, where can we find you on social media so we can see your awesome dank meme post? What's the social?
I mean, honestly, I think it's just Instagram, but I think it's just Edison Creative as our handle. So
Who's the meme maker?
usually.
Okay, yeah.
Dude, I love it. Dude, every time I just get a little hit of joy every time. That's it. So make sure you go follow them on social media. And again, check out the crowdfunding campaign for the Axiom Chronicles.
Yep.
Donate financially if you're able to, but just be supportive, share it on your social media. Just helping spread the word can really help. And so, yeah, thank you. That was a terrible way. Just
Still solid to see you in there.
That's my default. Yeah. What an amazing, value-packed episode. Luke and Shawn from Edison. Once again, make sure you go follow them on social media at Edison Creative to see all of their dank memes. And click the link in the description wherever you're watching or listening. Go check that link to the crowdfunding campaign. Support, share, do anything you can to help spread the word about the Axiom Chronicles.
If you do know anybody that would be on this podcast, that would be an awesome guest, be sure to email us at thegloryboyspodcast@gmail.com or DM us on any of our social media platforms. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya!
Bye.